So we have an equation. Is it a quadratic equation? Yes. It has a squared term, right? It's quadratic. So it's going to be a parabola. And it represents what? A rocket. It's the height of the rocket in meters and time in seconds. So we're looking at a relationship between time and height of the rocket. Is this equation written in standard form, factor form, or vertex form? Standard form. So what is C? It's ax squared plus bx plus c. What's c? 0. So what does that tell you? Where does the rocket, what's the y-intercept? Does that make sense? If time doesn't pass, does the rocket, is it in the air? No. Okay? So we're trying to figure out when will Arlene's rocket reach a height of 60 meters. So we want to know after how many seconds will the rocket reach 60 meters. So what can we do with that to solve? What are we trying to solve for? H or T? T. Do we know H? So when height is 60, what's T equal to? So what are we going to do? Put into the equation. So here's your equation. So plug in 60 for H, and we are going to solve for T. So maybe I'm going to rewrite it like this. Negative 5t squared plus 40t equals 60. Does that represent the same thing? If I rearrange this and I move the positive 60, if I get rid of it from the right side, and I can set it equal to 0, that would be in what form? Here. If I get rid of the plus 60 from the right side, what's the opposite of plus 60? So what do I have to do on the left side? Negative 60. Is that still the same thing? I make it equal to 0 because there was nothing left on the right side. Now this is in what form? Standard form, factor form, vertex form. It's in standard form, right? Can you factor that to figure out T? So you're trying to figure out the time when the rocket is at 60 meters. Will there be two answers? Think about it. A rocket goes up and then it comes down. Will there be two periods of time when it gets to 60 meters? Look. Maybe it goes up like this. So let's say right here it's at 60 meters. We don't know the time. And then all of a sudden it has to come back down. So there's another period of time when it's going to be at 60 meters, right? You're going to have two answers of what T is equal to. So it would be at 2 seconds on the way up and 6 seconds on the way down would be where it would be at 60 meters in the air. Could you figure out the vertex if I asked you to find the vertex, the maximum height of the rocket? So if 2 seconds it was at 60 meters and we're saying that after 4 seconds it would be 80 meters, does it look reasonable? Does it make sense? Yes. So the maximum height of the rocket would be 80 meters. So what method can we use to factor this? What's the first thing we should do? Greatest common factor, yes. It starts with a negative. So the greatest common factor is going to be negative what? What can all of these be divided by? Okay. So it's going to be negative 5. And then what's left inside the bracket? T squared. Negative 8t. Okay, and then negative 60 divided by negative 5. Positive 12. And we can use the sum and product method. Two numbers that multiply together to give you positive 12 that add up to negative 8. What are the two factors of positive 12? What times what gives you 12? Okay, negative 4 and negative 3 equals what when I add them up? Negative 7, so that doesn't work. Other factors of 12, Aisha? Negative 2 and negative 6. 6 plus 2, 8. So negative 8. There we go. So we have to keep this negative 5 there. And we have T minus 6, and t minus 2 equals 0. And remember, we set the height equal to 60. Remember, it was a 60 over here? We moved it over. So these are the values of t. So we have t minus 6 is equal to 0, and t minus 2 is equal to 0. And these are the values when h was 60, right? Does that make sense? These are not the x-intercepts. These are the values of t when h was 60. So what is the first answer? T minus 6 equals 0, so time is equal to 6. What was it, seconds? And time is equal to 2 seconds. So the rocket would be 60 meters above the ground at 2 seconds on the way up, and then 6 seconds on the way down. Does that make sense? So we can use these two values to figure out the axis of symmetry. What is the axis of symmetry? How would I calculate it? Yep. 6 plus 2 divided by 2, 8 divided by 2. So when 4 seconds has passed, we can find the maximum height of the rocket. It's going to be after 4 seconds. So what could you do to find the maximum height if t is equal to 4? So we're going to plug in this into the original equation. What was the original equation? Okay, so at 4 seconds, when t is equal to 4, that's going to give us the maximum height, right? So what is the height when t is equal to 4? Plug it in and solve for h. So again, bed mass 4 squared equals, so negative 5 times 16 plus 40 times 4, 160. What's negative 5 times 16? Negative 80 plus 160 equals, the height is equal to positive 80. So does that make sense? So let's go back and look at my little sketch.